I was a teacher today. Welcome to the SEC.
You're watching Inside SEC Basketball Live with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
And welcome into Inside SEC Basketball Live. I'm your host, Curtis Wilkerson, joined by Andrew Ellis. As always, wires got crossed earlier today. I thought Andrew was out. I had John on deck. You know, he was ready to pinch hit in this one, but it turns out it was our afternoon show that Andrew was talking about to me. He had some baseball things to get to this afternoon. So he's here, and I'm grateful. I told him, hey, like my heart sunk when I thought I'd be flying solo for this after Arkansas got popped by Kentucky. I felt like Tom Brady. Like I was preparing for my own roast. BBN was Nikki Glazier. Like this was going to get ugly. So I'm glad that you're here. I'm very grateful, Andrew. Thank you. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. What was it like 4 hours of today? Like the middle portion of today? I mean, because it was like 3:30 whenever you and I finally clarified. I had no idea. I had just gone about my day. Obviously, I knew I was skipping Inside Arkansas Live, which actually that's what threw everything off. I completely forgot the Swatters Club was happening today. So I didn't make that decision to skip Inside Arkansas Live until like 10:15, which is when I texted you and I was like, hey, and we had just texted about this show. And I was like, hey, I'm leaving you alone on the show, which I can see how that would be construed as I'm leaving you alone to do this show. I really just meant I was sticking you with John. You know, I'm like, hey, you know, just you and John today, you know, and I
Which
figured
is way worse. I mean,
right. And then I immediately sent you my power rankings so I could see how it was like double confusing. But no, I'm here. I'm ready to talk ball. And frankly, we're going to talk about Arkansas a little bit. I'm happy to talk about other Arkansas or other basketball teams in the Arkansas Razorbacks.
Yeah, exactly. I was kind of thinking we would lead with that, get it out of the way, and then get it out of everyone's mind, and we'll kind of take it from there. So, yeah, it was crazy. And so we had that, and I'm glad that we've got this worked out here. As soon as we hit go for our intro, it started playing. And then my screens just shut off briefly, and I was freaking out. I was like, what the heck just happened here? My dog, though, he kicked the cord on my little external monitor. So, you know, if it, like one turns off and then it's got to reset. So that happened in the middle of this right away. I was thinking, I think I'm in the dark. So maybe it's Andrew who's flying solo on this thing after all, but we're here. We're ready to go. And this is going to be a heavy chat episode, by the way. So get your hate mail in, get your hot takes in now. We are legitimately going to move as fast as we can through some of this stuff and then get to all the questions and comments and banter and all that. Looking forward to it. But yes, let's go ahead and lead, Andrew, with Arkansas and Kentucky. Had to have been the story of the weekend for sure. And we all saw how it went down. If you want to get the breakdown of the game, check out the Pot at the Palace post-game show or the report card or today's Pot at the Palace. I'm tired of talking about it, but I kind of get the sense that this game in ways flipped the perception of both teams. And like from, you know, Kentucky, think about what just happened to them. Like they went and played that game, Andrew, at Vanderbilt. They got popped. All of a sudden that 5-game winning streak, everybody's like, no, they're still, that was their true colors. And it went from, is Mark Pope the guy to, hey, let's give this dude a lifetime contract for how well he's doing. That's how quickly something can turn from one game. We'll see how long those good vibes hold. I even saw the Field of 68 do is Kentucky the team to beat in the SEC bit? Like it's full-throated over there now. Hey, you won the game. Good for you. For Arkansas, I don't know if I don't think fraud check is the right phrase here, Andrew, but I got to be honest, for me at least, I think the book is sort of out on the Razorbacks at this point. Like I right now, I don't view them anymore as an SEC title contender. I don't think they're consistent or reliable enough for me to include them in the top tier of that pecking order. And I'm tired of waiting on them to bring that consistency. If they do, great, we can have those conversations. But I see it as they're going to have some more games like we've seen against Vanderbilt and Tennessee and Louisville and Texas Tech. And then we'll see more like Saturday where they kind of got outworked and out-toughed and out-coached and out-executed on their home floor by a team that theoretically they should be able to beat in Bud Walton Arena. So for the Hogs, I think it's still going to be a good season. They're still going to get a good seed in the NCAA tournament, but I think they're the pretty good pigs. That's stuck with me since you said it on Saturday. Showing up ready to play in these two winnable road games will go a long way. But for me, I need to see this Arkansas team look bloodthirsty when Auburn comes to town for that revenge game before I start entertaining anything else again.
Yeah, I think there's no other way to really feel about it right now, as Arkansas has been semi-exposed as a real contender in the SEC. As a contender to win the SEC regular season title, I should clarify, Not to say that they can't finish the year as the best team, or that they might not go the deepest in the NCAA tournament, or that their ceiling is lower than we thought it was. I've seen a lot of people coming to that conclusion of like, oh, this team, the ceiling is way lower. And I'm like, I don't think the ceiling has been affected at all. There's still a very good team in there somewhere. We just probably ain't gonna see it. But no, I do think I definitely agree on Arkansas is not going to have the consistency week to week to really give themselves a chance to win the league. They'll win some big games. They'll have some great performances. We know they're going to lay some eggs as well. You got to go to Bama, to Florida. I think until further notice, I can't take Arkansas seriously as a contender to win the regular season title. And as far as Kentucky, I think they now fall into that category that a lot of the top teams in the SEC fall into, which is we look at their record, we say, damn, that's a good record. You look at some of their performances at Tennessee, at Arkansas. Those are two really good, undeniably good wins that you can't really poke a hole in, yet nobody really believes in them. But that's the same you could say for Vanderbilt, the same you could say for Texas A&M. And, some of these other teams, you're looking at their record and you're saying, man, they're better than that, right? I think Kentucky has at least earned that right where we all still kind of feel like, all right, is this team really going to go on this crazy run? And are they really a juggernaut? No, but at this point, the results are what they are. They are one of the top 5 or 6 teams in the league. Like, I don't think there's really any debate about that based on the results, which, it speaks for itself, honestly. I think we are looking at a league full of a lot of very mid teams.
Yeah, we really are. And we'll get to our power rankings here in a little bit. And to your point, I went back and forth with my order from 3 through 7 for like a half hour today. And then finally I was like, the hell with it. I'll do it. I'll try to explain myself. People will yell at me. I don't even care. But I really think that. I think there are 2 teams at the top and the bottom is pretty straightforward. But yeah, that whole upper middle section of the SEC, it's like, yeah, we could do this right now. But then after the midweek games, it's going to change again because none of these teams seem to be able to figure it out on a consistent basis. Last thing on this, and listen, if you want to talk more about it, throw your questions and comments in the chat and we'll get to it. But can we stop the gaslighting on both sides and just agree at this point that this is a rivalry? This is real with Arkansas and Kentucky. Like both fan bases, and I know you love this phrase, but both fan bases gave off Super Bowl vibes in this one. They did, man. And we know how much the Calipari factor certainly plays on the other end of it. But above all that, these 2 teams clearly do not like each other. Like there were 7 technicals in the game or whatever. Like it checks every box that you need for a really cool college basketball rivalry, including it being 2 good programs and 2 good teams. I think Razorback fans are ready to embrace that, but like the holier than thou act from BBN about it as the blue blood, stop it. Like that doesn't play when you celebrate a January win the way that you did on Saturday. Like they set Lexington on fire. Like it's like Seattle is going to be on Super Bowl Sunday. It was crazy. So I think we just need to all agree that this is one of the better rivalries in the SEC brewing. It's young. You're trying to figure it out, but this is good stuff, man. I love it, honestly. Even though it sucks right now to have to eat the sandwich, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know why everybody's making this more complicated than it is. Like you can all feel how you want to feel. You can look at it like through whatever lens you want. Last year, Arkansas picked up an awesome win inside Rupp, and we partied it up. It was freaking awesome. It was the moment of the season.
Kept our shirts on, but
yeah, I mean 100%. Yeah, we lived it up. We didn't pretend like, oh yeah, no, we didn't care about winning this game. And I think Kentucky fans should be doing the same thing. One, I think it kind of solidifies Kentucky as at least a tournament team, but also like, hey, you're gonna have a chance to, at minimum, win a tournament game, and like you're gonna be in that mix. If you don't win a tournament game, it's just because you lost to a team that you weren't supposed to lose to. Like, I think it solidifies them as at least in the mix in March Madness, which, as we always say, you get in the tournament, all bets are off. Like, you just got to make sure you're there. Because I think there were some people over the last couple of weeks who were like, not only is Kentucky's record inflated, I don't even think they're like good at all. And like maybe even going to end up, there was a point where we didn't know for sure if they were going to make the NCAA tournament. That's kind of put to bed now for Kentucky, and they should celebrate that. They should celebrate beating Cal. Like, that's all fine and dandy. I don't know why. I get like, the concept of winning a game and doing it easily and doing it in a way like I don't even care. I get why that's appealing to people, and they like want to chase that and be like, ha, I'm beating you and I don't even care. I just think it's a little stupid. It's like, as a fan, I don't know why we pretend like we don't care. We live and die with these teams. Hell, even when Arkansas loses to teams I don't care about, it ruins my week. It ruins my day. And so, of course, when there's personal animosity on the line, it's going to mean a little bit more. I mean, that's what the SEC is all about. It just means more. We don't need to pretend like it doesn't. It's perfectly fine to celebrate beating a team you wanted to beat.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. And the but I get annoyed when they call it the T-shirt game because it wasn't a T-shirt game. It was a whiteout. It was a towel game, if you want to be accurate there. But that's not a qualifier for anything, man. Like Arkansas's they did the stripe out. They're going to do a red out. Kentucky's doing the throwback denim jerseys or whatever it is for Tennessee this weekend. And they're trotting out the 96 team. So is this a Super Bowl moment for them? You know, Mississippi State's doing a stripe out for Arkansas in Starkville on Saturday. Is this a Super Bowl for them? You know, it's just kind of a thing that I think every program does at some point. But whatever. I'm sure we'll get to more to that when we get to the chats.
Real quick, I want to reiterate what I said the other day, which is that if you are a fan of any school and you are doing this is your Super Bowl bit and you're doing it unironically, you probably are a loser.
Yes, probably so. Let's move on to some other stuff here. I want to talk Alabama and Florida for a second, but then I want to talk a little bit more about Nate Oates. I know that you got to see what happened in Gainesville. Todd Golden on his radio show, I guess it might have been last week while we were doing this, but he was asked about the Charles Bediako situation, and he was like, don't care. If he plays, we're going to beat him anyway. And he just put it out there. That's calling your shot. Then Nate Oates in his press conference in the lead up to the game was complaining about Florida's bigs and saying, oh, they're in the, they're in the paint for 6, 7, 8 seconds at a time, or, complaining about that. So you had that whole situation. They play the game. Florida wins. So Todd Golden was right about that. They blow them out. They score 72 points in the paint in the basketball game. Bediako fouls out. They're chanting G League dropout at him the entire game. And then they go to the press conference, Andrew, and Todd Golden is taking exception to that comment that was made. And he was like, yeah, 72 points in the paint. I guess we were in there for maybe 1-2 seconds before we scored. So he called a shot. They went out there and did it emphatically. And then he took another shot afterwards. Todd Golden might have to be the SEC man of the week. I got to give him credit, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he might at least be the SEC team of the week, right? Because Florida, they had 2 ass weapons this week, correct?
Yes.
Right. They lost to Auburn last Saturday, but this past week they went 2-0 with 2 very thorough victories.
Or maybe they had the bye week. I don't remember.
Gotcha. I feel like Florida. I feel like they played Missouri or somebody on Tuesday and beat them like 96-40. But anyways, Florida, point is, I feel like they're the most stable.
Oh, South Carolina, same difference.
South Carolina, yeah, same thing. South Carolina, Missouri, it's all the same thing. But yeah, they're the team that I feel like they're the team to beat in the SEC. You want to talk about real legitimate contenders? They might not be first in the standings at this moment because A&M, shout out to them. But Florida's the team that I think everybody looks at and they're like, man, that's the measuring stick in this conference. And I think they've earned that right with some of their matchups against some of these top teams. I look at this from the Bama standpoint, and listen, they're still very dangerous. They're going to win a lot of games. It's been a long time since they've really had a strong performance against a good team. They opened SEC play with a 15-point win over Kentucky at home, which honestly in the moment we didn't rate that well. In hindsight, that's aged very well. So that's a good win. But again, that was 2 months ago, damn near. Not really. It's about a month ago. But and then they beat somebody. Illinois, I think, is who they beat early in the year, like week 2 of the season. That has aged very well as, another one. But again, that's a long time ago. We're going on like a month now where Bama has not really risen to the occasion against a good team. And I have no doubt that they're going to be better down the stretch and they're going to be dangerous, and we're not going to want to play them in March. But I think we have to kind of believe Bama when they tell us who they are, which is against good competition, kind of average.
Yeah, really volatile team. There's a few of those in the SEC. I got a question for you for that in a little bit here. I want to bring up this one thing from Nate Oates. We talked about it just briefly off air, but I guess he's doing his weekly radio show tonight, and he's catching all the heat for this Bediako thing, and he doesn't care, right? So I got this quote for you. I'm just going to read the tweet. It comes from Mike Rodak, a reporter over there. He says, Nate Oates says on Hey Coach that Alabama will continue to recruit high school players, but, and this is where the quote starts, we'll see where all the rulings go. Are you going to be able to bring in 23-year-old freshmen with 4 years of eligibility that have played 4 or 5 years of professional ball in Europe? If you can do that, and all of a sudden you're trying to play 25, 26, 27-year-olds every night, you're going to have to maybe rethink some stuff. You've already rethought it, my guy. You're the reason this is even a conversation at all, but here we go, man.
So on one hand, if you're a coach in college sports at this point, really any sport, but especially one of these top 2 or 3 major sports, you pretty much need to be turning every stone, finding every way possible to build a roster and finding every way possible to find an advantage. Those are the programs that have the most success. And so on one hand, I would like to think, hey, you can look at this as a Bama fan and say, you know what, our coach, he'll do anything. And, he's going to follow the rules, but he'll do anything. And he's just going to adapt to whatever we do. And I do acknowledge that side of it because I don't want to dismiss it entirely. I just feel like what the best coaches in the sports really do is they cheat behind closed doors and publicly say, hey, this is crazy. We need to get a handle on this while they're cheating behind closed doors. Nick Saban is like the main guy that's been complaining about NIL and recruiting and paying kids under the table. And he did it for decades, which is fine. I think as a person in a leadership position in college sports, I think you should be condemning this whole thing of, hey, I don't think we should be doing this. And then if, hey, the NCAA passes a rule and says, we are now going to allow NBA players to come back to college, then at that point, adapt to where you're at and, hey, let's go all in on it. And by the way, all these guys like Tom Izzo, Cal, whoever, if they do officially just say, hey, the gloves are off, we're going crazy, then everyone's going to go crazy, which is what happened with NIL. But I don't really appreciate someone who's in a leadership position and has a platform and a voice and is in a lot of these meetings in the offseason and stuff to be like, yeah, we're just, let's just push this envelope as far as we can, especially coming off of, you're the team right now currently that has a 50-year-old plan for you. I don't know, man. I think it's tough. I get adapting to whatever you got to do, but I think all the smart coaches in this business have been publicly shaming this.
Yeah, no, for sure. And Nate Oates is also doing a thing where he's playing both sides, which is weird. He's doing the, yeah, hey, I agree. We've got to, get a handle on this and come to a consistent, consensus with guidelines and everything. But I'm going to do what's ever allowable. So you can't say that and want change or want some guardrails against all this while simultaneously going out and doing the thing that's pissing everybody off in the first place. That's problematic. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
he doesn't need to be the voice for this. Yeah.
Everybody keeps saying like, oh, there are no rules. Yes, there are. There are literal rules in place. Whenever Charles Bediako was in college, he signed a piece of paper that foregoes his eligibility. Like that happened. And Nate Oates is ignoring that while letting him play. And now is like, well, we'll see what happens. Maybe we can get a rule change, wink, wink. And it's like, I know that's not outright advocating for the NCAA to start letting us do whatever you want, but he's the first coach I've seen do that, frankly.
Yeah.
Come out and be like, yeah, we should be letting grown men play college sports. Like,
right.
What?
Yeah, it's very strange. And, we were talking right before we started about this and how, and perspectives are different. Everybody can go about building their rosters however they want to, but the way Nate Oates approaches this and talks about it is just it couldn't be more opposite ends of the spectrum than John Calipari. Nate Oates is like, if I can play 25, 26, 27-year-olds every night, I'm going to do it. Cal is like, we're playing against 25, 26, 27-year-olds every night, and this is crazy. And so I thought this was funny from Cass because he's right. He says Cal will never go the Nate Oates route. He can't help a family that already has a family. And that might be one of your better comments ever. We appreciate that. But yeah, it's very true because he went viral for doing the whole bit about, he's got a beard. He's waving to his kids. He's using NIL money to pay alimony from his first marriage. And so he couldn't be further from this. And there's a part of me, and I'm afraid it might not actually go well for Arkansas if this happened, but it would be kind of neat to see, all right, somebody like Nate Oates is going to go all in on this nonsense while he can. And you get the G League dropouts, as the Florida fans like to call Bediako. And then Cal goes opposite end where he's like, I'm sick of this. I'm going to try to prove a point here. I'm going to go old school and bring in my 7 freshmen, and it's the youngsters, the young guys who have the upside, the first round draft picks versus the old heads who couldn't hack it in the pros, but they've got the experience, I would just love to see how that would work out. And there will be some balance with the rosters for sure, but it might be somewhat similar to that when these two teams play next year. And I think it would just be funny to watch.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I know they didn't win a title, but like one of the coolest teams anyone's ever seen was the Fab Five. Like we all thought that was awesome. Like just this group of 5 guys in the same class who were like, hey, let's make this happen. Arkansas's had their own little mini version of it with those 4 in-state guys from a few years ago. Like those are the things, I know that we all say, oh, freshmen are bad and you can't win it all with freshmen, but like a lot of the teams that have been loved the most in college basketball have been with a lot of guys from the same class kind of just all coming together. It's a concept that we can all get behind. Just like everyone, like a group of guys just being like, hey, let's just do this together. Let's just get 5 of the top freshmen in the country. Like, I kind of wish Cal would do it low key. Just get 5 of the top 8 players on the McDonald's All-American roster. And let's just go at it. Y'all want to just dismiss all these guys? It's like, hey, we'll just we'll have all the draft picks. It'll be all right.
It would be pretty funny to see, man. He's got a chance to get a couple more. And that's the weird thing about this year is there's so many McDonald's All-Americans, 5-star guys that are uncommitted right now. And obviously, if that's the case, Cal's going to be all over them. So we'll see, man. Real quick, just elsewhere around the SEC over the weekend, I mean, you had Tennessee take care of business against Auburn at home. Competitive game, expected result. Like, I don't know that really changes how I feel about either team. Missouri beat Mississippi State, close game at home. Vanderbilt handled Ole Miss at home. Anything from those games that you felt were noteworthy before we talk about the first place team in this league? Because I have a rant to go on.
Yeah, I just think this is a very important week for Tennessee. You know, you play a really close game up there with Georgia. Like, really, that was a game that was back and forth the entire time, could have gone either way, and it just speaks to the margin for error in a league like this. It's not like the SEC is just so hard that any mistake you make, you're going to get punished for, but it's like you look at Georgia, they lose that game against Tennessee, which was right down to the wire. They were pretty much winning the entire time. And then now you're following up with the loss on Saturday against A&M. Now we're looking at Georgia and we're like, dude, this team is absolutely toast. They're dead in the water. And you're looking over at Tennessee, who 2 weeks ago looked horrible. And now you're like, dang, Tennessee's kind of, are they rolling? You know, because it's you find a way to win in these little tight matchups. And same thing with in the Auburn game for Saturday. Tennessee just kind of finds a way to get it done, which is something that they've done a lot under Rick Barnes. Like, they just find a way to, you look up at the end of the year and you're not really impressed by them, but they're like 4th in the SEC, and you're like, all right, I guess they're pretty good. And so I think this is a very important week for them to kind of get some of that separation, as Cal says. We're getting some separation because we felt, like you said, teams 3 through 7 in the league. That's kind of where the debate is now. Like a week ago, it was like 3 through 11, you know, and now it's starting to like, you're starting to see which teams are fraudulent. You're starting to see which teams are starting to slip down a little bit. There were a lot of results in the SEC, like you said, with Tennessee and Auburn. A lot of games in the SEC this week that it was just like 2 mid teams, and the one that's at home wins. Cool. Mm-hmm. You know, there really wasn't a ton crazy that jumped out this week.
Right. And so, okay, let's we got to get into A&M here for a second.
Sure.
So only 4 ranked teams from the SEC and the AP poll this week. That was Vanderbilt, Florida, Arkansas, and Tennessee. And look, I mean, each one of those teams, I think, deserving of their top 25 status. But for the first time in my life, I am outraged on behalf of Texas A&M.
Yeah.
The Aggies are 17-4. They're 7-1 in conference play. They're alone in first place in the SEC. We're midway through the slate. And like, I say what you want about strength of schedule, but you don't play 8 games in this league without proving something about yourself. They have a road win at Auburn. They have a road win at Texas. They just went on the road and destroyed. They dog walked Georgia in Athens. Their only loss in conference play was in overtime at Tennessee. Like, I mean, make no mistake, Texas A&M, they're about to start taking on some water. In fact, I'm pretty sure they play Alabama and Florida this week. So if you're still not sure, you'll find out by this time next week. But for AP voters to not have Texas A&M in the top 25 after everything they've lost 1 game since December 7th, that is wild behavior to me. Wild behavior. They got robbed. I know the AP poll doesn't matter, but they deserve some respect on their name. They're going to get it on this show. I think that's crazy.
No, 100%. Like, listen, there's an argument to be made against Texas A&M and, you know, them being not a good team or whatever. But in order to make the argument, you literally would just have to ignore all of the results of the conference that we are halfway through, just about. I mean, literally in the midweek, we will be halfway through. You would just have to dismiss it all. You mentioned those road wins. Like, y'all remember when Arkansas went on the road to Auburn, how freaking hard that was? Yeah. A&M finds a way to win that game, which, you know, they got some help and it was close and it wasn't like they dominated, but like, you find a way to win that game. You remember how hard it was to go on the road at Georgia, and now it maybe looks a little bit easier, but they go on the road and beat them like pretty solidly. There's just a lot of results that are adding up that I'm like, man, I can't just ignore that. And so do I think they'll come back down to earth? Sure. I think they might go 0-2 this week, frankly, and they probably will. I think they'll be favored to lose both of those games, but like, I think it's okay to just wait until they lose games And then we can look at it and say, all right, we saw them against Alabama and, they weren't that great. But I remember people saying this. It reminds me a lot of Vanderbilt, frankly. And I know Vanderbilt's maybe, had some performances that you can look at and say, oh, that's maybe a sign that they're not that great. But I remember people saying this 3 weeks ago at Vandy. They're like, they're going to play some good teams and we'll really see. And they lost some games, but it's like,
they bounced
clearly
back.
It wasn't that dramatic. You know what I mean? Like clearly they're still a top half team. And so I think we're there with A&M where, yeah, they might lose these 2 games this week. Okay, then they'll be 7-3. You know what I mean? Are we still really supposed to knock them that hard for it?
No, I'm with you for sure. And I see a lot of people in the chat, and I think we all agree, and you're right. They're not going to go 17-1 or whatever it would be in the SEC. Yeah, they're going to lose some games here for sure. Yes, the back half of the schedule is difficult for them. Yes, we're going to find out a lot about them as we move forward here starting this week. But the polls are based on where you're at right now. And I don't know how you can be halfway through the SEC slate and in sole possession of first place with the things that they've done and just not have a number in front of your name, man. I think that's wild. I think it's wild.
I agree, man.
So we had to I just wanted to stump for him for a minute. I know Luke is in here, our resident Aggies fan. I had to stump for your boys a little bit because I think they got wronged this week.
Yeah. Well, and listen, I feel like we should get credit because we've been on this from the jump. I feel like we have properly rated these teams. And like Vanderbilt, we did that whole bit where we were like, hey, we don't have to believe in them, but
I'm getting ready to do it again in a few minutes.
If we're getting, we're doing this, here's where it is. And same with A&M. Like, everyone, I think with Vanderbilt especially did the thing where they were like, hey, they're overrated. And then when they lost a couple games, it's like, oh yeah, see, like they're not good at all. And it's like, I don't know. And I think people are going to do the same with A&M this week. So just be prepared for that. When they lose these 2 games, everyone will view it as, see, they actually suck. They're not making the tournament. And I think that's incorrect.
Yeah. Yeah. What the heck, man? I'm not going to do what they do. Gig 'em. Is that what they say?
That is what they say.
I'm not ready to go there yet, but
pass it back, Ags.
They deserve a little respect, man. Hey, shout out to our buddy Sharkensaw, by the way, and Mad Labs. They're a small independent code studio that does custom websites and web apps, internal tools, dashboards, admin systems, and so much more. They're a really great fit for small businesses and teams with existing software that, maybe they had already established, but they could use a little bit of help cleaning up or modernizing their website or their app. Or it could be for business founders who want to build something properly the first time. You know how it is. Do it right out of the gates. They help you move beyond the things like Wix and Squarespace and all those different types of builders out there. And when those tools start to feel a little bit too limiting for you, this is where Mad Labs really, really starts to come in handy. If you or your business is looking to build out or revamp a website or an app, let Mad Labs take care of you. Take advantage of our special Inside Arkansas offer by scanning the QR code on your screen for a free 30-minute strategy call and let Mad Labs get you on the way to the custom look that you're looking for with your business. Also, a shout out to our friends over at Alumni Hall who are going to be jumping on board with us here for Inside SEC Basketball Live. We're excited about that. I think it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? We've obviously done several shows from the Fayetteville location where they have all the latest and greatest Razorback apparel, but they've got stores for Bama, Auburn, Georgia, Florida, Kentucky, LSU, Mississippi State, and Tennessee as well in the SEC. So go check out your local Alumni Hall and get swagged out with all your team apparel or shop online at alumnihall.com. Okay. Power rankings and chat coming up here. But before we do that, I just have one final question for you. It's kind of the theme with all these teams that we've been talking about. Every team in the SEC has played more than 20 games this season, Andrew. We're at the midway point of the conference schedule. Some teams have only played 8. Most of them have played 9 at this point. Who do you trust in the SEC? Give me the teams that you trust in this league.
First, I need to get clarification on trust.
Okay.
Like, do you mean like trust to like if they were playing a good team at home? Like if they're like, are we playing a good team? Is it trust to make the tournament?
You trust that you know what you're going to get on any given night.
Well, believe it or not, I actually do think A&M is up there. And when you say, because you said know what I'm getting, I think I know when A&M plays the really good teams, they're going to struggle. But I think, they have a pretty high floor, frankly. Florida, I think, has entered that stratosphere. And we always talk about the backcourt and we say, man, they suck. So the backcourt's going to be the reason why they lose and all that. And I get when they lose in the tournament, it will be because of that backcourt. But I think that the fact that they have played so many games with a shite backcourt kind of makes it like they're immune matchup wise, where it's like, listen, they've got a star player that they can run offense through. They play pretty good defense. Nobody in this league really plays defense, but they play pretty good defense. I feel like they're the closest thing to a sure bet in the SEC. I know what I'm getting out of Vanderbilt at home, even though they did look a little shaky on Saturday. I don't know, man. Yeah, there's a lot of teams, like, again, some of these teams I don't even think are really good. Tennessee's not very good, but I do trust them. I know what I'm getting out of them. That really might be it. Because as much as I like Auburn, I don't trust them. Same with Arkansas. I like Arkansas. I think they're good. I don't trust them.
That's exactly where I'm at with this. I think, A&M, because even I think they're going to lose some games, but their style of play, the way they go about their business, you just know exactly what that's going to look like every game. They're going to play hard as hell. They're going to press you relentlessly from the time the ball tips until the final buzzer, and they're going to play fast. They're going to shoot a ton of threes, and that system in and of itself is volatile, right? Like you might just not shoot well in a given game, or a team might be able to break your press, but they're going to do it. Like they've got their identity, and they're going to live it. So sure. I trust Texas A&M from that standpoint. Florida, I do too. I understand the situation with their guards and everything. I'm a little bit reluctant there, but you know what you're going to get, man. With that front court, it's going to be, they're going to kill you on the glass. They're going to be overly physical, and they're going to dominate you in the paint. You got it. I'm glad you say Tennessee, because that was going to be the one for me. Listen, they got off to a slow start, but I mean, they're looking pretty. They won at Alabama, in that Bediako game. They won at Georgia. Then they just came back home, took care of business against Auburn. They've done 2 of those games without Akpara, their big man, rim protector there in the middle. I'm with you. I don't think they're overly talented. I don't think they have that much firepower, but they know who they are. Gillespie, Nate Ament, who, credit to him, is starting to come into his own, and then a bunch of role players and offensive rebounders, man. And they're going to play defense. So I think they're starting to round into form a little bit. But then, everybody else, man, Vandy, no. I don't trust them. Arkansas, no. They can keep teasing me, but I'm not going to sit in that cuck chair. Sure. Auburn, no. Alabama, hell no. And all those teams have very high ceilings, but volatile is the word that keeps coming up to me. Kentucky, just look at their last week. If you want to know about them, you get 30 balled at Vanderbilt, and then you go beat Arkansas in Bud Walton Arena. That was the only team in the league hadn't lost at home. So who knows with a lot of these basketball teams, man? I think there's just a finite few that you can feel pretty decent about what you're going to get night in and night out. I mean,
Tennessee is maybe the only SEC team I think that doesn't really have a bad loss. I know that Kentucky at home is, it felt like a bad loss in the moment, but I think at this point, you still should be, if you're a good team, you should still be able to beat them at home, but they're not a bad loss at this point, I wouldn't say. Their only other losses are what? Florida, and who else did Tennessee lose to?
Arkansas
in Bud Walton Arena.
Yeah.
I wasn't doing a bit there. I genuinely was just thinking. But so it's like, I think Tennessee might be that team where it's like, we always do the KenPom and whatever. It's like, whatever they're at in KenPom, they'll beat everyone below it. Everyone above it, they'll lose to. I think they might be that team. I just wanted to pull this up real quick because, and we're getting ready to get into your chats in a second, but this just tickled me. Cubs fan says, Hogs will lose at Florida. Mark that down and circle it. I already did. I think the ESPN BPI is going to have them at like 87% Florida to beat Arkansas.
Yeah. Because I really do think if I look at the rest of Arkansas's schedule, and I have done that and I'll continue to do it, then you can look at every game and talk yourself into, Arkansas can win this game. They can win this game. Knowing what we know about Arkansas's paint defense and playing on the road against that front court. I mean, what do Acuff and Malik Thomas have to combine for Arkansas to get out of there with a win? 60? 55?
Yeah, dude,
I mean,
the last time Arkansas won at Florida, Devo hit like 5 threes.
Devo went crazy on him.
That was when he was going through his random stretch of being a great three-point shooter. I mean, you don't need, I don't know if that would be Carter Knox or somebody hitting 5 threes, but you definitely need some variables to go your way.
Yeah, for sure.
They'd have to get somebody in foul trouble too, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. That Chinulu dude's terrifying. He's turning into like Shibwe, honestly, because he's able to score it now. He's just a monster in there. He's grabbing like 16 rebounds a game. Like that dude is He's a menace in there, man, for sure. Okay, let's get into our power rankings, and then we'll get into the chats. And remember with the power rankings, they're not standings. They're not how we think the league is going to finish. In fact, it's not even close, but just an in-the-moment thought of where we feel like the pecking order is at based on where it stands. I know we got a bunch of Razorback fans in here who are, about to get mad at me, but that's okay. So I'll go first. I've still got Texas A&M at number 1. I'm going to be honest with you. I was very close to moving Florida ahead of them after what Florida did against Alabama. Like I thought long and hard about that. My thought process, just like we talked about, and I think it was Ryan who pointed out in the chat, like we've kind of already done this before. And yes, I'm doing it again. This is validation or a check week for A&M. They play Bama, but then they play Florida. Well, if Florida wins that game, I'm moving them ahead anyway. So we'll keep it right there. Florida, so I've still got them at number 2. Tennessee, I moved up to 3. And like I said earlier, I messed with the order of 3 through 7 for half hour. And this is what I settled on. With Tennessee, you could talk about how, well, they lost to Kentucky and they lost to Arkansas. How could you? Here's my thing. This is a what have you done for me lately type of deal. Tennessee is the only team in this league, by the way, to beat Texas A&M. They just swept the road swing at Alabama and at Georgia, and they came home and handled Auburn without their starting center. That's impressive to me. Vanderbilt's looked great since their 3-game skid. They crushed Kentucky and Ole Miss last week. Kentucky, listen, they've won 6 out of 7 games, and they have wins at Thompson-Boling Arena and at Bud Walton Arena. That, to me, is very impressive. I put Auburn at 6. I think getting that win at Florida is major. I think it's a huge win. They had won 4 straight. They lost a competitive game at Tennessee. Like, I'm not going to nail them for that. And then I went with Arkansas at 7. I think they're too volatile. They don't get up for big games consistently. And that's a red flag for me that they have to figure out. They lost composure. They were rattled as the home team against Kentucky. And they didn't play well in close wins against the 2 worst teams in the SEC right before that. So I think they need to show me something coming out of this bye week. And like I said, winning a couple games on the road that you're supposed to would be a start. But until I see them look like they've got some balls about them when Auburn comes in there to Bud Walton Arena, I'm fading the Hogs a little bit. Not to oblivion, they're not going to make the tournament, but I have a hard time putting them too much higher when I've seen these other teams rise to the occasion more consistently in big games than Arkansas has. The Kentucky wounded me, so I faded the Hogs.
I mean, as it should wound you. You know what I mean? Like they really had. I mean, we had them, I think, at 3 or 4 in our rankings last week. If they had beaten Kentucky by literally 1 point, just survived by the skin of your nuts against Kentucky, I probably have them at 3. Like genuinely. I mean, literally. I mean, you look at your rankings, like it would make sense. We talked about A&M, Florida. I just simply couldn't demote A&M for going 1-0 with a road win by double digits over a team that's going to make the tournament. Like, I was just like, if that's the only thing you did this week, I can't move you down. I could see moving Florida up because they had a great week, but I was like, I just can't move A&M down just yet. I'll wait a week and do that. And I'm sure some people are going to want us to move them to like 12. You look at that 3 through 7, that's where things get a little wonky here. Vanderbilt, I don't feel super comfortable with them at 3, but I just feel like at home they take care of business, and that's kind of enough for me. I think the separation between all these teams is not that great. And I have Kentucky at 4, and Vanderbilt just beat them by a very wide margin, and so it's like I can't have Vanderbilt below Kentucky for sure. I also can't have Arkansas above Kentucky when they just lost to them on their home freaking court. And then I kind of just did the cop-out thing with Tennessee and Auburn, where I was like, I can't have Auburn, or wait, I guess I with Tennessee and Kentucky, or Tennessee, Arkansas, Kentucky. I couldn't have Tennessee over 2 teams that they had lost to. I know Arkansas was on the road, but I was just like, Tennessee's good, but I'm okay to have them below the 2 teams that they've lost to. We have Alabama and Georgia flipped, that I don't really care too strongly.
Alabama, there's something stinky over there. Right. I don't know, man. Like, they've been losing games at home, getting blown out, which is not something they typically do. They've got guys in and out of the lineup all the time. I know it's been some injury stuff, but then you've got Nate Oates, who clearly doesn't believe in his front court. He's bringing in Bediako, and then like Tamara said in the chat, like that's kind of blowing up in his face now. Something just ain't quite right over there. They've got a ton of talent, but I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't trust them at all. And that's the only reason I put Georgia above them. I haven't been that impressed with Georgia either, but I just don't get the stench from the Bulldogs that I do the Tide right now. I don't know. It's weird over there.
It's going to be very interesting to see how Georgia responds to this. There was moments early in SEC play where we were like, damn, are they going to do the same thing as last year where you start off 12-1 or whatever and then just completely fall apart? We felt like they had at least earned, when they beat Arkansas, that was a pretty big notion of like, hey, we're not just going to completely fall off the map here. But now you're under 500 in SEC play. A lot of those same guys. I wonder if it's going to snowball for them. And really, I just feel like if one of those teams were going to turn it around, it would probably be Bama. But I'm probably just giving Nate Oates a little bit too much respect. Texas, Missouri, Ole Miss at Mississippi State. I love that we just nailed that together. We're just like, this is the mid right here. This is where the mid really starts to get up there.
Yeah.
Shout out to LSU and South Carolina for beating each other at each other's place. Why have they already played twice? and why did the road team win both times?
They're gross basketball teams, man.
Just throw them all out, man. I saw Eli Ellis had a funny quote where he was like, yeah, I don't think you lose by 40 unless you got some real serious issues, because they had just lost by whatever they lost to Florida. He's like, yeah, I don't know, man. I think we might just be cooked.
Right. Yes, I think we said that right before we even started this, but yeah, they are in the moment. These are what power rankings are. Why would you update them every week if it wasn't in the moment?
Yeah.
Like if you want our projected standings, go back to the beginning of SEC play. I mean, it's just kind of how this works, but yeah.
Yeah. And then, hey, next week, whenever there's going to be more games, more things to look at, we'll adjust our rankings then.
Yeah. It might
just
like
change. They do with the AP, just like they do with the coaches, just like they do with the net, just like they do with everything.
Yeah. Yep. Oh man. Okay. Ready to get in some chats?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's hear what the fans have to say.
I think we did a pretty good job of sticking to our guns here. This is by far the earliest that we've gotten to chats here. For sure. So it's good. Okay, let's run through these real quick. I thought I saw a super chat. I want to make sure that we get to that. Okay, yeah. Sharkensaw. Thanks, buddy. Says, I have a friend who is a high school coach in Michigan, and rumor is every high school coach up there despises Nate Oates. He burns every bridge he crosses. That's interesting because he doesn't hang his hat on it, but he's very proud to say that he, started as a high school coach and, kind of came up through those ranks and everything like that. And he's had some success recruiting the high school ranks. He's gotten some good players in there in the past. I don't know what their class looks like right now, but if you're a high school coach and maybe he does burn bridges, he doesn't strike me as the guy that's super good with interpersonal relationships, but I don't know him. But this Bediako thing, if you're a high school coach with a 5-star big man or whatever, how can you advise your kid to go play at Alabama? I would just be like, listen, if you go there and it takes you a few weeks to get your legs underneath you, he's going to go bring some pro who played for him 4 years ago back to take your spot. So I just can't imagine that that's something that's helping him. And then like the quote that we had earlier, Andrew, about he's talking about, I'll just go get somebody who's played professionally in Europe for 5 years. Why would I get a high school kid if I can do that? That's not sending a good message if you're trying to get Burger Boys. So I don't know, man.
I mean, we always make fun of coaches for doing the bit where they're like, hey, I really care about these kids. I really care about the development of young men or whatever. And we always kind of like laugh about it, but it's like, you at least have to say that as a coach. Like, hey, I'm a leader of young men. I like watching these kids succeed. Like, that's a huge part of the driving force for me. Like Eric Musselman, we know deep down in his heart, he's a basketball guy and wants to win basketball games. The developing young men is kind of secondary, but it's like even Eric Musselman at least will do the song and dance and be like, yeah, I love the kids, man. I'm a kids guy. That's what I am. Like, and Cal obviously does it more than anyone. I don't think I've seen a college coach be like, no, I actually don't give one shit about the development of young people. I'm here to win ball games. Like, damn, bro, that's cold-blooded.
Exactly. Let's see. Cubs fans said, glad to hear neighbors say the Hogs lost, but they're a better team than Kentucky. I super chatted that on the post game. Y'all blew me off. Emotions running high. Hogs might have lost at home, but definitely better. Yes, Cubs fan, when you just got your ass kicked by Kentucky 10 minutes ago in Bud Walton Arena, if you expect me to do the bit of, well, Arkansas lost the game, but they're going to win the war this season. No, I'm not doing that. Kentucky was very clearly better on Saturday night. Very clearly. And I think there's an argument to be had about who's the better team at this point. So,
sure. And listen, I think, I'm not even going to do the argument, but like, I can get with you on the, hey, Arkansas is a better team, going to have a better season, whatever. I'll even concede that, but it's like, we do a post-game show and we say it all the time. On a post-game show, we're going to talk about what happened in the game. That's not our time to do the fairy tale make-believe. If we play it 10 times, this is what could happen. When we're doing a post-game show, we're reacting to what happened in the moment. And so now in this moment on Monday, as we're looking at these teams from a big picture standpoint, that's the conversation we're having. Yeah, I can get with you and say, hey, yeah, I think moving forward, I probably expect Arkansas to finish better in the standings. I think they have a better chance to go further in the tournament, whatever. But like post-game show, we're it's tough to be like, oh, hey, yeah, Arkansas was actually the better team. And also, sorry if we missed your chat. We just, there's a lot going on. We stayed on for 90 minutes, reading through as many as we could. I guess it must have got lost in the shuffle, which I do genuinely apologize for. We definitely don't like to, dismiss super chats, but we didn't do it on purpose because we had like a bone to pick.
Yeah.
Unless you were that guy that was spamming the chat, in which case you may have changed your name.
We probably got buried by all the homophobic slurs and hate mail that was thrown our way after that game. So sorry. Hayden says it's players only meeting time for the Hogs. Yeah. And it's this weird deal right now with Arkansas because they are tied for third in the league and they're ranked in the top 25 and they're very, very secure for the NCAA tournament. Like you would think that they suck. They don't. But they're very inconsistent. And there's some red flags that are going to hold them back at doing something cool when you have Darius Acuff on your team. But I think you might be right, Hayden, about a players only meeting or something of that sort. It's not because it's like the situation is just so dire or whatever, but where are they struggling? It's with the effort stuff. It's not, damn, this team can't shoot or the coach is an idiot or whatever. No, it's they don't show up ready to play in big games, and defense, which is, now there's a lot of schematics involved, but it's a pretty effort-oriented thing, is where they really, really struggle. So, yeah, maybe those guys need to get together in a locker room and have a little bit of come to Jesus about these are the expectations and the standard that we have to have in terms of our energy and our effort out there. My question would be, who leads that meeting?
Yeah.
Billy?
I think DJ.
DJ?
Just by
they
like
listen
the
to
seniority.
DJ.
No, I mean, not seniority, but like the longest tenured Cal guy. I think he's also I would imagine a pretty liked guy on the team.
Yeah. Billy would be the hype man right behind him.
Who?
Like Billy would be the hype man right behind him.
Yeah.
Everything DJ said, he'd be like, yeah, mother.
Yeah. I feel like Billy is like the junkyard dog you want standing next to you while you're giving the team address. Yeah. I don't know if Billy is the vocal, get everyone together guy.
You know who it should be? It should be Nick Pringle. Because that has been Nick Pringle's persona for a decade in the SEC. Is I play hard as hell. I bring relentless energy. I'm physical. I'm tough. And it's crazy that he has come to Arkansas and that hasn't happened to the point where Cal, I missed this in the press conference the other night. I heard him say, we got to get more from Nick, but he also said, and that pretty much means rebounding and running the floor. Your key as a college basketball player to get minutes on a top 25 team is to run and get rebounds. That's it.
Yeah.
You don't have to dribble. You don't have to pass. You don't have to shoot. You just have to play hard and get rebounds at 6'10", 235 pounds. And that's been something he's done his entire career. That's what's crazy to me, man. Like I think back to, and it's not all on him, but he really seemed like he should have been a catalyst for the energy of this team. Remember in the preseason, the way he was flying around, and then I remember the interview he did with us as media for like a half hour. I remember his hog pod and everything, and just the stuff that he was saying. He just seemed like, wow, like this is a locker room guy. He gets it, and he's grabbed more than 2 defensive rebounds. He hasn't done it in SEC play. The last time he got more than 2 defensive rebounds in a basketball game was December 16th against Queens. Like, what are we doing here? I don't know, man. It's wild. Somebody needs to get in his ear, maybe.
I'm not trying to do the thing where I compare him to Jonas Adu because I don't think he's going to do what Jonas Adu did. Let me just say that clearly. I don't think he's going to have this resurgence and he's going to be this huge driving force of Arkansas going to the Sweet 16. But I do think it reminds me a little bit of that because Jonas Adu is another guy that part of why you bring him in, he's the number 2 transfer in the country, but because of that experience, because of that leadership, because of his personality, because he kind of knows how to lead those meetings and be a vocal guy that can kind of be an unk to players in the locker room. And I think it was tough early in the year when Jonas Adu was banged up and sitting at some points and playing and only playing 8 minutes at some points. It's hard to be that vocal leader if you're not playing. And I think for Nick Pringle, it's tough to, like you said, it's tough to go out there and say, hey, guys, you got to play with some toughness when you're literally putting up 9 trillions with 3 fouls or whatever it was he did the other night. Like, it's a really tough. That's, it's a quick way for your – and I think once you saw Jonas Adu start playing well, now all of a sudden it's like, oh, hey, this wise father figure for us. I don't think Nick Pringle is going to end up being able to do that, but I think him not playing well is, when you have 8 guys in a rotation, you need them all, and I think they're also missing some of that leadership for sure.
Yeah, no, I think so, man. Appreciate everybody for hanging out in the chat. I see this from Samuel. He says, not sure if you saw yet, but JJ Andrews made McDonald's All-American. He did. That's awesome. Hope to see more Hogs. Maybe a McCoy, Collins, or Smith Jr. That's very cool for JJ. I was worried because he got that injury and hurt his wrist and got the concussion. He was out for a while, so it's like, are they going to use that against him? But no, they didn't. He made the team, well-deserved. He's healthy. He's back playing now, which is cool. So I'm pumped for him. Shout out to Abdou Toure, by the way, the other signee who achieved 5-star status over at Rivals. He made a huge jump and so got up there. That's cool. I think Arkansas's best shot with those 3 would be Jordan Smith Jr. I think they're in really good shape there. McCoy, I think, would be, you look at Arkansas to ramp it up if they didn't get Jordan Smith Jr. Christian Collins is very much still up in the air. Like his recruitment's very open. Arkansas has been re-engaging, kicking the tires and trying to get back in there. I don't think it's definitive either way just yet, but we're talking about Cal getting a bunch of, talented freshmen. That those guys right there would be a start. Luke, our resident Aggie fan, says, Curtis, project A&M's record this week at Bama versus Florida. We proved you wrong, Andrew. Put belt to ass in Athens.
We've been having them number 1 or number 2 in the power rankings for weeks now.
Did you have them losing that game?
Maybe I did. Did we do like a pick 'em last week?
I don't remember. For the weekend game.
I'm sure I would have, because I definitely didn't think they were going to go into Georgia and win.
It was an impressive way. Dude, they were up 22-2, like right away.
Yeah.
Right away. It was pretty impressive.
What the final? Did they end up winning about 15? It wasn't
maybe
close.
More than that. Yeah. I mean, Georgia made it interesting at one point, and then A&M was like, nah, we got this. Yeah. I'm going to say.
Damn sure didn't expect them to beat them like that, because Georgia at home has been pretty good.
Right. Man, this is tough. If this was reversed, I'd feel really good about saying 1-1.
Yeah. I think they beat Bama low key.
I was about to say I'm still going to say 1-1 because
Bama is tough though. That's a weird airport hangar.
It is a tough one. They're better at home, although they've been losing in there this year. I think Purdue got them in there. I know Tennessee got them. Somebody else. Texas went in there and beat them. Yeah, okay, they're going 1-1. Texas goes in there and beats them. Texas A&M can go in there and do it. Florida's going to be a tough one for them.
Florida had a stretch early on where we were like, do they have some issues on the road that I think they've kind of figured out? I mean, they played South Carolina on the road and beat them by 1,000. I don't know if that's proof of it, but they beat Vanderbilt on the road. There was somebody, I think they beat Oklahoma or someone like that, but they did it comfortably. I think Florida's kind of figured out their home road issue. And I think their style of play kind of works for that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I shouldn't pick them to go 0-2 because then if they win, I'll be wrong again. So I'll say they split. I think they beat Bama.
Right. Let's see. FHF says, Curtis, go roof for Kentucky. Your energy is giving weird. That doesn't even make any damn sense. This is an SEC basketball podcast where we're talking about the Kentucky team that just beat Arkansas in Bud Walton Arena. If you don't like it, turtle walk your ass right out of here and go watch something else.
I pray this is not a grown-ass man saying your energy is giving weird.
Yeah, that comment is giving weird.
Your energy is giving weird. That is quite the sentence.
Yeah. Let's see. We got to that one from Luke. Kat says Florida is winning the SEC, and it's not even a debate. It's a debate, but if
in fact, you were the one that was debating with us about Florida sucking like last week.
If they sweep this week and they beat A&M, though, it's it's not. I wouldn't say it's wrapped up because you never know what's going to happen, but they'd certainly be in the driver's seat. It's weird that they're a game back right now, and I still do feel like ultimately they wind up winning this thing. If I had to guess, they're looking pretty good, that was maybe just weird things happen because when they went and got popped at home by Auburn, you could look at it one of two ways. It's like, well, Keyshawn Hall can do that to you anywhere. Or is it like, oh, here we go with these guards again? Maybe that's going to be a limiting thing for them. But they were very impressive against Alabama. I thought.
Remember that time they lost at Missouri?
I do.
It looks crazier and crazier as time goes by, and I just think it comes back to we got to give every team a mulligan. And I don't think the Auburn game is the mulligan. I think the Missouri game is the mulligan. I think Auburn. It just kind of is what it is, man. Auburn. If Auburn beats you on any given night, you just have to understand that's a possibility.
Yes,
but they're beatable as well.
They are. Peyton, we'll be out at your spot on Wednesday, buddy. He says, "I'll just ask this, and it's not breaking news or anything like that, but this is the worst Alabama team we've seen since Nate Oates' first year. More than willing to move past the Arkansas convo." Yeah.
To be fair, they haven't had many non-good teams. I would have to really look at the records and stuff. Do you have it in front of you by chance?
I can real quick.
All right, I'll filibuster for a while, but
filibuster for a second.
It's weird because Bama plays a style of play. They shoot 53s, and so you would think that would lead to a bunch of high variance, and it kind of does. But year to year, they've been about as consistent as really any of these teams in the SEC.
Yeah. His first year they were 16-15. Year 2, 26-7. Year 3, 19-14, but they still made the NCAA tournament as a 6 seed. Oh, that was the year because they played the ridiculously hard schedule.
Gotcha.
And
what was their SEC record? Do you have that?
It was 9-9. They went 500 in SEC play that year.
So it's probably their worst team since that year.
Yeah, because 2023 was the year they went 31-6, and they lost to San Diego State that game. They might have been the number 1 overall seed or something. 2024, they were 25-12, but they went to the Final Four. So yeah. And then last year, I don't even remember what they did last year. Elite 8, yeah, and then they lost to Duke. So yeah, there you go. I don't know what they're going to finish this year, but they load up with that schedule and everything. Their net and all that's going to stay super high. They're kind of immune to dropping too far. Samuel says, if Arkansas goes 0-2 on the road trip at Mississippi State and LSU, are we toast?
Yeah, you're toast at that point. I mean, relative toast because you'll still scrape into the damn tournament or whatever. But yeah, I would say at that point, if Arkansas would have massive red flags at that point, like ranking them 11th in the standings or in the rankings type of red flags. If you lose at Mississippi State and at LSU.
I know this is a response to somebody else, but Kat says Cal has never lost in Starkville. I don't know if he's being facetious or if this is a thing.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he hasn't lost too many times in Starkville if he has.
Yeah, Cal's lost some weird games in some weird places. I would figure he's taking an L there. So
yeah, you'd think, but
I don't know. BT Max says that he likes this Nate Oates and Todd Golden feud. Need that kind of drama in the league.
I would agree. I appreciate coaches that don't mince words at those press conferences because there's always the coach speak of, I respect the guy. And I mean, Curtis, you remember Eric Musselman. He'd go up there, guys that in your heart, he hates that guy with a burning passion. He'd get up there and say, Buzz Williams, and he does a good job over there at A&M. He's a good coach. Always enjoy playing against his teams. And you're just like, dang, So it's like, even if you do hate someone, you do the song and dance. I appreciate a coach like Golden that's like, nah, bro, that's BS what they're doing, and we're going to kill them.
Yes. Yes, indeed. From XP, he says, can we agree that this Arkansas team is still trying to figure things out? Cal said maybe this team is a 2-day off team, 2 days off from practice a week. These players seem to be not running on all cylinders, and I'm hopeful. What do you think? Yeah, I mean, they're absolutely a team that's still trying to figure things out. The problem is it's February.
Right.
You know, like you're halfway through the SEC schedule and everything now. There's still obviously room to get better. Like Arkansas improved in the month of February a lot last year, right? But those circumstances were a little bit different because they kept having to change their identity with injuries and stuff like that. It took them a while to figure out who they were because who they were kept changing from a personnel standpoint. I mean, this team has been healthy and it's just been consistently inconsistent. So yeah, hopefully they can tighten those screws. I don't know how much better it's going to get defensively. Like they could try to hide some things and make some improvements there, but until we see them give max effort and energy on a consistent basis, they're still going to have some problems from that standpoint.
The problem with this also is that it would be one thing if we could just say, oh, well, this Kentucky game is just a one-off thing. The Oklahoma game being sketchy and the LSU game kind of being a little sketchy at home makes this hard because I do think there is a case to be made of, like last year, and I know Arkansas was 1-5 going into this game, but they have that game against Oklahoma, which when you look back at Arkansas's schedule, ever since they got that first win against Georgia, from then on out, Arkansas was a pretty solid team, except this one random egg in South Carolina and this one random egg at home against Oklahoma. You look at the rest of it and you're like, okay, Arkansas kind of found their groove. I would love for us to one day look back and say, that Kentucky game was just kind of a weird one-off thing. And, they ended up beating Mississippi State, beating LSU, kind of finding their groove. And then, hell, they even, they beat Auburn in Bud Walton Arena. Like, they really kind of turned it on after that. I would love for us to look back and do that. And I think there's a case to be made for it because there's definitely a fatigue in the grind of a season. And I'm sure this week off has been helpful, but man, I'm going to be watching real closely when you play against these two bad teams because we cannot see any, you don't have to blow them out, but you cannot be getting down double digits against these poo-poo squads, bro. That's just unacceptable. Like doing it to Kentucky, okay. Doing it against LSU and Oklahoma and then potentially Mississippi State, that's tough.
Yeah. Mississippi State's been struggling, man, and they've gotten demolished at home a couple times. You're coming off of a week off after that loss. Like there's just no reason at all to not be super motivated for that one. And then LSU, you've already played them and they almost beat you in Bud Walton Arena because just weren't ready to go for that game. So there's no reason for Arkansas not to be firing on all cylinders. And let's be honest, very, very clear here. If Arkansas is firing on all cylinders from an effort and focus standpoint, they will beat the hell out of both of those teams.
Yeah.
It's just whether or not they're going to do it. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, and it makes it easy. If we're going to spin this narrative, it makes it easy if you beat LSU by 18 in Baton Rouge. Then you could say, clearly, that team that we saw at Bud Walton Arena 2 weeks ago, that wasn't, guys, Cal says, that wasn't my team. This was my team tonight. We can do that song and dance. But you fart around, man, and it's not going to be easy either of those games, honestly.
I know. BT Mac, this is a good point. We were talking about Cal, if he loads up on the freshman to go against Nate Oates' old Euro squad or whatever. He says all about how good the Frosh class is. Aaron Bradshaw and DJ Wagner were 1 and 2. Are they as good as DeBansa and Darren Peterson? No, of course not. But that's true, and that's why I said I'm not sure it would go well if Arkansas went that route. Had they done that this past year, I would feel differently, because they got Acuff and Malik Thomas. Who else were they really heavily in? They were deep on Caleb Wilson. Let's say that you got him, or Chris Sinak, who they recruited very hard. Like you get those guys, then let's play all the 30-year-olds in the world. Let's go. This upcoming freshman class is believed to be one of the weaker ones over the course of the last 8 to 10 years. So loading up on those guys doesn't mean they're not going to be very good and impactful players, but it's not going to be like this year where people are salivating NBA franchises to get to this draft and get their new franchise players. There ain't as much of that for next year. So you're right, though. That's a fair point. Let's see. Eddie Congress says the days of Cal signing 7 of the top 15 high school basketball players is over. That would cost $20 million in NIL launders. Are
we that far away from college basketball teams spending $20 million?
Well, one of them allegedly did.
Right.
So.
I know that sounds like a crazy, inconceivable number. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that in the next 3 years, Arkansas has a roster that costs $20 million.
Yeah. I was going to say, yes. I mean, those guys would be super costly, but what you're finding is that transfers are getting more in NIL because they're
Mhm.
more proven commodities. Not that these freshmen are getting paid; they absolutely are, but like there's exceptions, right? Like Debanza, he's just getting an absolute bag, and Boozer, guys like that. But once you get past the first 3 to 5, it's actually a little bit less, or in some cases quite a bit less than the top end transfers who are like getting $4 million plus a year. And people thought, oh well, they got the NIL clearinghouse and the rev share, and that's gonna even this out a little bit, and it'll start to kind of correct. But that literally just did not happen in football. And all this stuff is in place, and guys are getting more money than they ever were. So I expect basketball to be the same thing again in the portal. But you got to spend big to win big, whether it's freshmen or transfers or whatever.
I'm going to put you on the spot here, Curtis.
Okay.
I'm not going to ask you to give me exact numbers. We don't really pocket watch much on this show. But, like, in terms of compensation, is there that much separation between what Nelly Davis warranted and what Darius Acuff warranted?
That
and is it at all possible that Nelly Davis cost more?
Oh, he did.
I kind of thought that too. I didn't want to say it too confidently.
Yeah, but now it's
now he was the number one guy. Fair enough.
Number one guy. It's complicated because Acuff is achieving a bag from his Reebok deal and everything like that, and that's not something that Arkansas really has to mess with. But no, he costs more. I mean, Nelly was like a $2 million man.
Yeah. Which is why, like, I know obviously it will cost a lot of money if you're going to get, 5 stars or whatever. I think you're onto something though, and that like that might not, especially because these high school kids, I bet it's all over the place. We know there are some kids out of high school that get 4 or 5 million or whatever, but I think like JJ Andrews, for example, I don't know I'm not pocket watching here, but like I don't think he's going to demand like 4 million coming in as a freshman. He's a McDonald's All-American guy,
right? Yeah, no, that's exactly.
So it's like
right.
I don't know, it might not cost that much to get 5 of those dudes.
See. And Cal is way more likely to give that money to freshmen though than he is transfers at this point.
Which isn't. I mean, listen, if everyone wants to go in on getting these G League washouts, let's do it
by all means. Kat says, "How many pros does A&M have?" Well, define pros. Guys who go play in the G League and then come back to College Station in 2 years, or
yeah.
I think
is AG their best prospect?
He'll make a lot of money in Europe. He's just so old.
Yeah.
That I wonder how that impact, because he had to get a waiver to get his extra year or something. So his clock is an issue. Rylan Griffin was, but he's not. I don't think he is anymore because it hasn't panned out for him.
Mm-hmm.
Pop Isaacs is a really good player. I don't know if he's going to be a league guy. Yeah, it's possible they have 0 NBA draft picks. I'll tell you who. Their best pro prospect is the one who's out for the year. It's Mackenzie Mbako. He could have stayed in after the combine and gotten drafted. He wouldn't have been super high, but he would have gotten selected. And he went back to school, and then he got hurt. So he's probably the answer there. But they're a team,
Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, I just want to clarify before everyone goes off the rails. Obviously, even if Arkansas did bring in a freshman class of 7 freshmen, there would still be 5 legitimate transfers on that roster. Obviously, I know we joke about it of like going all in on freshmen, but it's like obviously no matter what, you're going to fill in the gaps with transfers.
Yeah, the guys are going to come back. They've got to go get their, there's not enough big men in the freshman class to fill in a completely empty front court that they have, and yeah, they would. Hickory Hog, you're right. Says A&M beating Georgia, gained some respect. He hates it, but I mean it was 22-2 like 4 minutes into the game. I mean they completely ran over them. Ryan wants to know who's the sleeper team to win the regular season.
Well, can I give you a team that's currently asleep?
Yeah.
The Arkansas Razorbacks. I don't think Arkansas is going to win the league. I've said that multiple times on this very show. But I think if you were looking at, other than A&M, who, by the way, obviously, like, if they beat Florida at home this week, they're like borderline the favorites to do it. So I don't know if I can qualify them as a sleeper, but I think if you were looking at teams that are in that like upper middle of the pack, Arkansas might have the best path to winning the league. I haven't looked at Tennessee's schedule, so I don't know. I don't know if I can speak confidently.
Tennessee is what I was going to say. They're one less game because they've already had their midweek bye, but they're 5-3. They get Ole Miss at home in the midweek, and then they go to Kentucky, which Kentucky's owned them for a while here, which is it's interesting outside of that Sweet 16 game, I guess, last year, but they beat them twice in the regular season. If they go get revenge in that game and all of a sudden they're sitting there at 7-3 and hell, what would that be, like a 5-game winning streak or something? We probably have to look at them and be like, regular season Rick, man, he's doing it again. But yeah, outside of that, I can't.
I mean, nobody below those two teams are doing it. Like,
right.
Auburn, low key, but Auburn would literally have to win out.
Does Vandy? I just don't see them doing it. I don't know. Yeah,
Auburn's the type. I mean, we've said it a lot. Like, they can beat anyone, but they're going to lose some stupid games too. So will Arkansas, though. So I really don't know if there's a sleeper.
Eyeball emoji from Sharkansas. He says he's got a special project coming for the transfer portal.
I like that.
I like that a lot. Spice it up a little bit. That's good. Yeah, and okay, and I kind of already talked about it, but I brought this up for a reason. Ryan said a lot of SEC teams are getting better right now, while it feels like Arkansas is in crisis. I don't think crisis is the word, but it was a perception game. It truly was a spot that you can't lose at at home, and it's kind of the way that it went down. I don't know that one loss to snap a 3-game winning streak is a crisis, but you want to get a hold of things before it becomes that. So from that standpoint, I think it's a good thing that Arkansas has got this week between games, because that's the type of loss that can stick with you for a while. And so you want to say, well, they just got to go out and play right away, get that taste out of your mouth. That's how I felt. But then it feels like that could linger for the team, not just us being irritated about it. So I'm glad that they're going to kind of get removed from it, refocus on some other things before they go back out there and play again. I think crisis is a strong word, but it's enough of a red flag to where you just got to go, all right, something needs to change now. You don't want to lose control of what's going on here, but at the same time, Ryan, I really don't think much is going to change. And so you hear that right away and you're like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Well, no, that means that they're probably going to have some of these games where they look phenomenal, like they did against Vanderbilt and Tennessee and some of these others. And you get super excited and you're back on board, and then they just come out and lay an egg against somebody else. That might kind of be their DNA. I don't know. We'll find out. If they're going to get it right, it's going to come from having this week off to BBN's going to love this, make some tweaks and figure some stuff out for the stretch run here. I don't know if I'm seeing it with the consistency though.
Yeah, I don't think there's any secret that like Arkansas was limping into this bye week. Like, is that fair to say? Like the last 3 games.
Malik Thomas walked in with a boot Saturday.
I mean, he literally was limping. It seems like a team that was like, and I listen, I hate that because I wanted this Kentucky game to be circled. But this seems like a team that like was desperate to get to a spot where they could just kind of catch their breath for a little bit. And so is that concerning? Yeah, I definitely think it is, because we just had a very big moment and they were too tired and too, unmotivated to get up for it. That's concerning. But I also think if we just freeze frame in certain times of year, a lot of these teams look like they're in a crisis. Like, again, 10 days ago, people would have said Vanderbilt was in a crisis. They're clearly not in a crisis. Kentucky at the beginning of SEC play looked like they were in a crisis if you ask their fans. Georgia certainly looks like they're in a crisis. Bama certainly looks like they're in like, you know what I mean? Like, you pause it at any moment coming off of your worst performance of the year. Yeah, everyone looks like they're in a crisis. You know what I mean? Hell, even Florida had a stretch this year. And I guess you could say, well, all those teams have come out of it, except, half of those teams haven't. I don't know. Like, I think I come back to what I said at the beginning of the show about Tennessee and Georgia. They played a game that was separated by, I literally think, 1 point. And if Georgia wins that game, it would be stupid to be like, oh, they're in a crisis. But the fact that 1 point didn't go their way, all of a sudden now they are. And the same goes for Arkansas in the terms of like, they could have very easily lost to Oklahoma, in which case I would be like, holy cow, they are in a crisis. But I think it's just tough. Like, you can't take a team at their best game and judge them on that. You can't take a team at their worst moment and judge them on that. I know that's a cop-out answer, but like, I don't know. I'm not every week. I'm not going to come here and be like, oh, wow, the team that had a bad performance Saturday, they're in a crisis. Sure.
Derek says Carter Knox had his heart stolen by something. Did he get broken up with or something? Arkansas's got to get it's consistency, man, because Carter's had a number of performances here recently where you're like, okay, he's showing signs of life. He's kind of looking like the Carter of old. My big thing has been like embrace the Audice Tony method of being a good basketball player, basket cutting, offensive rebounding, knocking down spot up threes. But yeah, I mean, it was a nothing burger there against Kentucky, man. He really struggled. And I think it was his playing time too. It was two-pronged. It was one, Billy was awesome. He was Arkansas's best player on Saturday. They play the same position. Billy's going to get the minutes. And it was one of those games where matchup-wise, you couldn't play him as much at the 4 because Mo Diabute is not going to be a fun matchup for him. Neither would Yelovich because he's 7 feet tall or whatever. And Trevin was playing well. So he was kind of a victim of circumstance. But I like what Cal said after the game, that he called Carter aside and was like, hey, we're not winning anything without you playing well. And that's very, very true. You have to get a baseline level of production from him, but these no-shows have been happening in some big moments. And he's kind of like Trevin from a standpoint of when he plays well, that usually coincides with some good things for Arkansas. And I don't know, man, but like you can't not play him, you know? So
I think it was Adam Ford who does a really good job of like advanced number, things on Twitter, who had a thing about how like, hey, even when Carter's not producing, Arkansas is still a better team on both ends when he's on the floor. And so it's a weird, like, kind of conundrum where you're like, you can't just reward him for not doing anything, especially on Saturday when he really wasn't even recording any stats. But it's like, I do think you have to keep playing him because the best version of this Arkansas team undoubtedly is getting something from Carter Knox. And so with him, man, it just sucks that we're just in this spot where it's like, we just have to wait until he decides to be good at basketball again.
I know.
Really.
I know, man. Vimar says, if Pringle starts the next game, we are not a serious program.
Do you think he will?
If I'm being honest with you, yes, I do.
I think he will too.
Do I think he should? No, but I'm not at practice every day. Here's the thing. Here's what I will say to you, Vimar. If Pringle starts the next game, Malik Ewan might not be a serious basketball player. That's what I think, because the only thing I can think of right now, and again, I don't know, like I'm not in there every day, but my line of thinking is, for a while you could get away with Pringle does all the little things, right? Like you got the guys who need their mouths fed with the shots and everything like that. He doesn't need that. He's the glue defensively. Well, now he's not, right? I mean, he's not rebounding, not defending, not blocking shots, not scoring points. It's like, okay, what are we doing here? If this is a thing and Ewan is still not starting, it's because Ewan is not doing the things that the coaching staff needs him to do to give him that position to justify doing it. I don't think it has anything to do at all with Nick Pringle, if I'm being honest with you. And so I think about that game and the technical foul that might have cost Arkansas the game, the airballed free throw, the defensive miscues and everything, like the effort stuff. Those little things really stick in John Calipari's craw. So if they're continuing to roll with Nick Pringle in there after these goose egg type of performances, I think it's more of an indictment on where they think they're at behind the scenes with Malik Ewan than it has anything to do with like this kid getting preferential treatment or something, personally.
Well, and we can't forget that it wasn't that long ago that you talked about this a lot, that Cal literally said, I want to give Pringle's minutes to Ewan.
Yeah.
He's like, we have this competition. You know how sometimes we do that with quarterbacks where we're like, oh, they really wanted this guy to win. Arkansas wants Ewan to win this competition.
Yes.
And it may be off the bench, he'll play more minutes, but like you pointed out, the runway has been kind of cleared for Malik Ewan to just be a serious adult. And he's had flashes and he's a lot closer to it now than he was a month or two ago. But yeah, I think there's still a little bit left for him to kind of figure out.
Yeah. And just, it's like, and then Derek, he says, will you be pissed if Billy isn't starting Saturday? No, I won't be pissed about it, but do I think he should? Yeah. And I keep going back to, because I know a lot of people say, well, it doesn't matter who starts and you've got 8 players. They're all going to play. I agree. This is true. But when you start the game poorly, start different players. You know what I mean? Like if you're not getting through to them with like, the energy and, play harder, be focused, whatever, who is the guy that is going to bring that no matter what, no matter where, every single night? It's Billy Richmond. So that is why I would have Billy in the starting lineup. If they don't, it's fine. They'll come out and start slow and get behind 10, and then Billy will come in and the energy will pick up and they'll get right back in the game. It's just kind of the way that it is. But So no, I won't be pissed, but I think he should personally. Fishman wants to know, Andrew, does Arkansas have a pitching problem? I think this is a good time for you to cue something up, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you should watch today's bombastic podcast, and it's not to say that Arkansas for sure is like loaded on the mound. But if we got to hear from Dave Van Horn for about an hour and a half today, and he filled us in on what's been going on behind closed doors, and he didn't have a ton of offensive highlights to speak about. In fact, he said he said, I can't even go into detail about what Cole Gibbler did to our hitters the other day. Because Nate Thompson was sitting there front row. He's like, I don't want to throw Nate under the bus, but he's like, Cole Gibbler was doing some filthy things. I think Arkansas has questions to answer on the mound. I would say their like questions are being exaggerated a little bit. Especially by people in this very state, frankly, because people nationally don't think Arkansas has as big of a pitching problem. In fact, a lot of people think Gabe Yackel's a stud and he's going to be an All-American. But yeah, I think you should listen to today's bombastic podcast, honestly.
Yeah, there you go. The plug is something to plug. That's what I was.
That was it. Sorry.
Cubs fan says, okay, good. He says, y'all didn't miss my chat. I vaguely remember that. It says, y'all are the number one podcast in the country. That's lofty, but thank you. The chat was geared towards the UK fans that appeared all of a sudden. Well, there were a lot of them.
Sure.
So a lot of things got drowned out there amongst all the noise and everything. But yeah, it was hard to share in that sentiment at the time for sure. I will admit that emotions were running high. WKRP. So he's got the Kentucky's record at Bud for the last decade or whatever. And I think he thinks that this is appreciate the super chat, and WKRP has been listening for a long time, so appreciate that. But I don't know if he thinks this is like a sick burn or something. This is common knowledge. I mean, I talked about on the pregame show that Kentucky, they might be the only, I know they're the only school in the SEC that has a winning record against the Razorbacks in Fayetteville. Hey, man, it's an historically great program. I don't think there's any denying that. What you have to understand here is outside of what happened Saturday, every one of these games that you're referencing came with the guy who's currently coaching us. So it's like
allegedly the worst stretch in Kentucky's history.
You got to keep that under, like, it's just like when they're victory lapping. I saw today, like the most all-stars, NBA all-stars, this year from a single college program was like Kentucky 5. And everybody's like, where's Arkansas on this list? I'm like, well, they're not, but our coach is responsible for all of those guys. So I understand what you're doing there. And yeah, that's a fact. How many has Arkansas? They won 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 4 or something at Rupp.
I was like, Arkansas low-key been winning at Rupp.
They've been doing okay there lately.
Beat them. I remember when they won that Kentucky, that Arkansas team won in Rupp, and I was like, holy cow, I didn't even know that was like genuinely possible.
Yeah.
They've had some good success there. So yeah.
Right. Let's see. Oh, okay. Yeah. So Kat says Cal is undefeated in Starkville. I don't even know what his attempt at facetious, I think, means, which is pretty funny.
By the way, intern Cameron did confirm that their last loss was I think it was like the year before Cal got there. So,
okay. Well, there you go. I'm actually surprised by that because I feel like I've watched Calipari teams lose at South Carolina and lose at Georgia, probably Ole Miss. I don't know. I just felt like, because Mississippi State has been like low key one of those teams that they're a pain in everybody's butt, even like predating Chris Jans and stuff. And they used to be the team that would have like 4 7-footers and Tolu Smith, and they just wind up beating you. They're really hard to beat at the hump. So I'm actually kind of surprised by that.
You know what it makes sense though, because every time Arkansas loses in the hump, it's to a 14-13 Mississippi State team. So they weren't winning a ton of games outside of they're scrappy.
Yeah, exactly. Final super chat here from Luke. He says, love the show and how y'all talk about all the contending teams. Here's to hoping A&M and Arkansas keep winning and make that game in Bud a good one. Yeah, that's going to be a fun game, and it's going to be interesting to see where both teams are at when that comes. Because hold up, let me look real quick at the schedule, because I don't think it's at the very end, but I don't remember if it was before some of those tough roadies that Arkansas has. It's after Alabama and before Florida. It's Wednesday, February 25th is that game. So yeah, we'll know for sure about both of these teams by then. That's one of those that makes me uncomfortable, man. Because on one hand, if you're a Razorback fan, you look at it and you say, all right, Texas A&M is undersized. They're not as talented. They don't have a Darius A. Cup, like all those things. It's at Bud Walton Arena, and you would like to look at it and go, yeah, Arkansas should get that done. And maybe they should, but I also think about how the Razorbacks looked at Georgia, who play a somewhat similar brand of like they press you, they run and gun, they shoot a bunch of threes, and just how overwhelmed Arkansas looked in that spot. And so that style concerns me a little bit. Well, it shouldn't be a problem at Bud Walton Arena. Well, I just watched them come out flat against LSU and then Kentucky. So we'll be nervous going into that game. We'll see if Arkansas has tightened some things up. And if Texas A&M has lost some games by that point, that might change the way we feel. But it'll be a fun one. We appreciate the comment for sure.
I'm glad that the Auburn and A&M home games have turned out to be like ones that you really need to circle. I mean, Auburn, we kind of knew they were going to be pretty good, but it's like, you kind of looked at the schedule preseason and you're like, all right, Kentucky, that'll be the big one. Yeah. And then like Auburn, but then you kind of just are like, all right, that's kind of it. That A&M game is very late in the season. And it's another massive opportunity. And yeah, lots going to happen between now and then, but we appreciate you genuinely because you've been cool in the chat, man. Cheering for A&M, cheering for Arkansas. Weird combo, but we're here for it, I guess.
Good stuff. Good stuff indeed. All right. Anything before we get out of here? We made it through all the chats and appreciate everybody for hanging out with us and stuff. I'm pleasantly surprised, honestly, by the amount of Razorback fans that are in here after what happened Saturday, and then you don't play until the next Saturday. I was like, I don't know if people are going to be buying into this one, but no, you guys have. It's good stuff.
Yeah, my only message is to the Arkansas Razorbacks, who I'm sure are watching this and resting up. You got a lot of time on your hands this week. Be having those come to Jesus meetings. Be having those talks. Make sure you're getting to class on time, doing all what you got to do in the classroom. We're student athletes, okay? Don't forget that. But also, we're done. We're done being soft. We are like, today is the day. Y'all stop being soft. And I want to see that Saturday.
I would love to see that on Saturday. Need to see that on Saturday. Thank you guys for tuning in and appreciate everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week. Oh my God. Real quick, rapid fire. The Pick'ems. Ole Miss at Tennessee.
Real quick.
Yes. Ole Miss at Tennessee. Do we both agree Tennessee?
Sure.
South Carolina at Texas.
Texas, which by the way, Texas is kind of lingering a little bit. They're kind of lingering.
They're hanging around.
They need to keep taking care of business in games like this because they'll give some top teams some problems. I'll go Texas.
Yes. Texas A&M at Alabama. That's a Wednesday game.
I'm going Aggies, man. Screw it.
I'm going Aggies too.
Well, the nation will be cheering for the A&M, an A&M team for the first time ever.
Exactly. Oklahoma at Kentucky.
I almost interrupted you and you said Oklahoma at, and I was just gonna be like, I take whoever it is. Yeah, I think the Big Blue Nation will roll on.
Almost anyone else in the league, I would have Kentucky on upset alert.
Sure.
Trap game. Coming off the Arkansas emotion, pre-Tennessee, which is a big one for them. That's a tricky spot for Kentucky to be in. Good news for you, Wildcats fans. Oklahoma sucks. So you're going to be fine. That's it. Only 4 midweek games. And then Saturday's a loaded slate. So there, we got it. We did it. And we're done. Thank you guys for tuning in. We really do appreciate you. Shout out to Andrew for hanging out with me tonight, even though I mistakenly didn't think he was going to. It's been a great show. Shout out to intern Gigi and Cameron for holding things down for us behind the scenes. And we're out of here. So for Curtis Wilkerson, everybody that I just mentioned, and the Inside SEC Basketball live show, enjoy some good basketball, and we will, see you guys next Monday.